Hello everybody. I know that a lot of you probably want me to do programming tutorials, but I'm doing a lot of programming in my day-to-day life, and I think I would burn out if I tried to do tutorials as well. So we're going to just talk about whatever I feel like talking about, and that means top games. It is the end of 2015. It's time for a top games discussion. It's not me choosing games. I just went to Itch.io and hit all games, and this is how it sorted them. Top games. Ooh. So let's talk about the nature of the game industry in 2015, where it stands. First off, a lot of pieces of the game industry are starting to fail. They're starting to get gunky and crap out. AAA gaming, not very many good AAA games came out this year. Most of them were extremely samey, a lot of bugs, and a lot of the AAA developers and publishers have started to falter. Obviously not great. Mobile gaming had some serious issues this year as well. The storefronts have started to show their flaws. It's very, very difficult to get a mobile game noticed, and Apple certainly doesn't help you with it at all. But the industry that I'm interested in is right here on Itch.io, and this part of the industry, well, it went really well this year. So I thought I would talk a little bit about the sort of happiness that I've been seeing coming out in the games industry and why I am so hopeful for the future of the games industry, although it might be a rough couple of years for anyone trying to make a mobile game or AAA game. First off, we have a lot of Game Jam games. Like here's one by Daniel Linson, and this is a game about surviving on a desert island or on an island, and it is a Game Jam game, which means that he threw away all of the things that normally inhabit those kinds of games. There's no zombies. There's no complex building or construction. It's very straightforward. And instead, what he's done is he's experimented with certain innovations like 8-bit sepia tone maps and this awesome sundial, where at night your radius shrinks and in the day it grows. All Game Jam games, well, not all, a lot of Game Jam games experiment with new ideas that aren't really in the games market right now, but you can expect to see them in the games market at some point in the future when the idea catches up to a larger developer with more time on their hands. So I wouldn't be too surprised if we saw some 8-bit sepia tone maps and sundial-like vision radius popping up in a mid-range game in late 2016. We'll have to find out. Emily is Away is similar, except for it happened earlier. I don't know that Emily is Away was a Game Jam game. It might have been an actual developed game, but it's not as new as it might look by the fact that it's here on the front page. And recently, another game came out that was obviously inspired by the same things as Emily is Away, maybe even inspired directly by Emily is Away. That game had full motion video and a lady who took her top off, so it was a little bit more popular, but you can sort of see the progression. When you first saw Emily is Away, you might think, oh, that game was really, not my style. But then you see how someone was inspired by it and created another game. And you can see how the chain of events unfolds. And that's one of the things I like about Itch.io. Any given indie game can inspire other indie games. For example, for those of you who found that Arstotzka was too dark and sinister a place, you can always play Animal Inspector, where you murder animals and it's all cheerful. Same basic idea, but inspired directly by, simplified, put a different coat on it, and it's great. Now, not everything here in the indie market is a Game Jam game or a seedling of a better idea. Some of them are super targeted. Paint the Town Red. This is a game where you take voxel characters into a bar and you beat them up with stools. I'm sure that you've probably seen it on other people's Let's Play channels. It's very, very well pointed. It is tightly figured out. Everything is no bigger than it has to be. Very low budget, very low goal, very small scope. But it's perfect because it is great fun to have someone behind your shoulder pointing at it going, no, hit over there, go over there. And it's also great fun to pass the keyboard back and forth, and it's great fun to see a video of people doing that stuff. So this is a very good indie game. It is targeted just great. It is developed with the right ideas in mind, and overall, I think that there are a lot of these games coming out, and they're great. I think that these are stepping stone games. I think that the developers of successful games like these, and I'm hoping that Paint the Town Red was successful, I think that they'll grow and they'll make a better, bigger game. With those skills that they've learned and the ability to make a better game, maybe we'll get a new, flourishing mid-range game experience. We'll have a lot more, 20 to 30 hour games that are interesting and fearless, but aren't, Fallout 4 style huge games. It would be very fun. I look forward to their further endeavors, Matt Carr's further endeavors. Obviously, there are also really old school, quote unquote, indie games like Wolf Quest, which is positively archaic by now, but is somehow on the front page of itch.io, and Freerider. These are games which are developed as a kind of a bizarre hobbyist thing. They're aimed at super niche people, like who wants to run around in a Unity default asset island with a quadcopter? Who wants to be a wolf? The vast majority of players don't care, but for a niche audience, this is good. And that is the thing that indie games used to be. They used to be, you aim for your niche audience. Now we're seeing indie games which they don't aim for anything because they took no time to create and they were just fun, or they aim for a slightly larger than niche audience, enabled by YouTube Let's Players and whatever else, whatever you can find. Going down the list, we can see that there are plenty of visual novels. I love the visual novel space, and I love the Twine space, although I don't play them. I can't stand the actual interfaces. Whenever I play them, I think, oh, this would be better as a comic, or oh, this would be better as a short story. But that's my personal problem. I think that these are a great thing to have in the games industry. They allow people to really, really express themselves in games, and I think that's great, even if it's not my cup of tea. We also have a ton of rather generic indie games that you can see everywhere, like jumping and puzzle games and that sort of stuff. And that's fine too. Those are really great ways to build up your experience. But if you're trying to build up your experience, I strongly recommend that you do it a different way and you go for an art game. Like, for example, Oasis or Orchids to Dust, or even Joy Exhibition, although this is a special case. These games don't really make any sense. They're not really games. But if you put one on your resume, people will see it and they'll say, oh, that's interesting. Whereas if you put jumper number 912 in your resume, they're going to be like, oh, okay, he put out an exact clone. It's much better to be unique and bad than boring. Not that any of these games are particularly bad. These are on the top 20 games on itch.io, and there's a reason for that. All three of these games are worth playing and worth picking up. I especially liked Joy Exhibition. The idea of slapdash art being a major game mechanic, that's awesome. I'm really hoping to see a lot more of that in 2016 and 2017. That would be great. I also like Rusty Lake Hotel, at least in theory. This is one of those games that was developed, and I have never heard of it before. How did it, just kind of appear out of nowhere? But it's got this great fearless sense of style that you only get out of indie games, where it's like, yeah, I'm going to make whatever I want, and fuck whoever doesn't like it. Sounds good. Make that stuff. I love this part of the industry. Even Barbershop Simulator, which is just students cloning Surgeon Simulator. I love it. I think it's great. That's a perfect way to gain experience, gain notoriety, and have a great thing to put on your resume. So all of this, everything here, is a really great example of a game industry which is reinventing itself from the bottom. The mobile space is damaged beyond repair by centralized shops. The console space and the AAA space are damaged by fear and over designing, not doing anything new, not doing anything interesting. But here there are a lot of fearless indie devs doing whatever the hell they want, and I think that is just the best. Now, my opinion on VR, I don't think it's going to be as big as people think, not until maybe 2018, but I don't mind it. I think it's cool. It makes me so sick that it makes me throw up, so I don't think I'll get involved, but I certainly don't mind it. Anyway, if you haven't played around with itch.io, I recommend you pop on over here. Literally 95% of the games can be had for $0, so it's definitely worth looking into. Everyone is at a different place in their life and in their career, and every game speaks to different people. There may be people who think, oh, this is exactly what I want to look into. This is exactly the sort of tone I want. And there may be people who don't think that. There may be people who are like, oh yeah, this speaks to me, or this speaks to me, or this speaks to me. And all of that stuff is fine. That's the great thing about this indie game space. Anyone who comes in can participate, and it is blooming into a space where a huge number of people are participating in a way that never would have really been possible before. Even when we were doing Flash games back in the days of Newgrounds, even then, you didn't really get this kind of variability because everyone was stuck using Flash, everyone was stuck using the same embedded system method, everyone was stuck in the same straitjacket, and if you didn't appeal to the major masses of Newgrounds, you vanished almost instantly. And that's just not true here on Itch.io. So come visit Itch.io and see whether there's anybody like you here making games. Oh, this is also a great place to toss up your game dev games, your game jam games, your prototypes. Just put everything up and have a lot of fun with it. So this is the sort of thing that makes me have hope for the future of our industry. And I hope you feel the same way.